Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. I hope you enjoy. Story number 1, Uplifting the Human, written by Something Touches Back. Ambassador Franklin studied his own gloss a bit before answering. They are giving us quite a data dump, not just technology, but also galactic politics, a little bit of biology and history of the major member species, and recently, they've started introducing us as a sort of non-sentient curiosities that we'll run into out there. All in all, they seem to be doing everything in their power to uplift us as fast as possible, to the point where we can participate actively in the galactic community. But, said President Armand, your words sound good, but your tone and body language say that you are worried. I can't put my finger on it. But my counterpart amongst the Gessel, Ambassador Skizrik, seems, concerned. It's like every time he gives us something new when we talk about it later, he seems surprised at what we did with it. I feel like we are flailing some kind of test or something. But he keeps coming back with more, yes. Perhaps then we aren't failing his test so much as averting it. What do you mean? President Armand sipped his drink and then sat back a bit. Let me tell you about a cat my family used to have. Snuggles was born a barn cat, but soon enough adapted to indoor/outdoor life of our suburban neighborhood. He was affectionate, well-behaved, and an absolute terror to the local rodent population. But one night, when he was about 6 or 7 years old, Snuggles jumped up on our dining table before we had a chance to clear the dinner dishes away. He had never jumped up on the table before, and I wanted to stop that behavior immediately. So I dashed over to the table, scooped him up, and tossed him out onto the porch in the pouring rain. However, the next night he jumped up onto the table again. So again I tossed him out into the wet and cold. This went on for a week. By the end of the week, the cat had learned, and for the rest of his life, whenever he wanted to go outside, he would jump up on the dining room table and stare at me. Ambassador Franklin chuckled. Good story, but how does it apply? Ambassador Skizrik may be trying to teach us something with these gifts, and maybe what we are learning isn't what he is intending to teach us. From Ambassador Skrizek, Earth Posting, Liaisons to Humans, to Director Thust, Department of New Species Integrations. I regret to inform you that Uplifting the Humans continues to be confounding, and is veering off plan in unexpected directions. Rather than trying to explain in general terms, allow me to present 2 examples from which you can draw your conclusions. Example 1. Several rotations of the planet ago, we introduced them to Daugts, those prolific and vivacious pests that thrive in the small recesses of spacecraft and have doomed many with their destructive chewing of vital systems. We provided the humans with a small breeding population with the hope that they would understand the threat and devise ingenious methodologies with dealing with the infestation of Daugts. Today, the human ambassador Franklin thanked me profusely for providing them with such a wonderful, renewable food source for long space missions, and assured me that they taste like a human food source called chicken. I recommend that we send out a bulletin making all planets and stations aware that any visiting human spacecraft will probably have a considerable population of Daugts on board and should follow necessary containment procedures. Example 2. As per protocol, we presented the humans with designs for the more commonly used FTL field generators, along with their benefits and issues. This included a Type A Argonaut generator, with the explanation that, while the design is simple and inexpensive to construct, it should never be attempted due to its inherent instability and propensity to blow up with enough energy to break apart an asteroid. I should have not been surprised when the first thing the humans did was develop a Type A Argonaut generator into an effective asteroid mining tool. They seem to be completely unaware of the difference between a warning and a suggestion. Any advice is appreciated, but I must warn you in advance, will probably prove futile. Humans just think differently. End of story. Story number 2. Fourth Contact, written by Provisional Rebel. The Rexath were the first to discover the humans. They were a primitive people on a cold, desolate world that should not have been able to support them. It was only after some observation that it was discovered that the caves they'd returned to were actually some form of ship which was trapped beneath the ice and snow. Scans indicated it was massive, but even with the interference of the ice around it was obviously both underpowered and dying, with energy readings declining at a slow but predictable rate. Almost a year to a day after their discovery, a subspace transmission was detected from the planet. It read simply, "Ardua ad Astra Pegasus." After this, no further activity was detected. Research teams discovered the bodies of the last survivors huddled together in the reactor room, having apparently committed suicide together, in the last place of warmth enough to breathe without equipment. Of course, further studies determined the ship had been designed as a sleeper colony, a sublight vessel. This posed a number of issues. First, was there were no planets within a reasonable distance they could have made such a journey from. Second, they obviously had subspace technology, which indicate they must have some understanding of FTL travel. Still, with their deaths, it was a mere curiosity for the Rexath scientists to ponder, as one of the crew's final acts had apparently been to destroy the computer core. Then, humans were discovered for the second time by the Atrai. At least, the shattered hulk of a ship was having apparently crashed during a deceleration maneuver. They saw little use in investigating the site, but gave permission for the Rexath scientists to set up a research facility to compare it to the previously discovered colony ship. When the computer core was discovered, it was determined that an attempt to restore and glean information was prudent. Once power had been restored in this attempt, however, a subspace transmitter activated. Power had been lost before it was able to make the final call, which had somehow remained undisturbed in its buffers. It read, "Per adu at Astra Shenlong." No useful data was available as computer seemingly disabled itself upon transmission of the message. The third time the humans had been discovered was the first true contact situation. The Malek were expanding into a new sector, conquering planets as necessary when they entered a system that was bristling with activity. They demanded their immediate surrender of the system and were met with a dazzling display of firepower from the native defense fleet. The ensuing action was a decisive defeat for the Malek's navy and the first shots of war, which would take 13 standard years to come to a close. The humans were outmanned in almost every engagement, but never outgunned. Still, it was a losing proposition for them. The Malek had a massive industrial base which they used as a blunt tool to match the surgical precision by which the humans had fought. The humans could win every engagement and still lose in the end, as they never seemed able to replace their losses nearly as fast as was necessary to stem the tide. Finally, the humans had been beaten back to their homeworld, and the end had come. They had offered peace throughout the war, but the Malek were too enraged to hear them out. The humans were a clear and present threat to their empire, and could not be allowed to survive. But once the Malek had entered that system, there was no more talk of peace. The humans deployed a horrific weapon that had yet to be seen, which devastated their enemies. But it all seemed to have been a final measure taken too late. The final 3 years of the war occurred exclusively within their home system. At the end, the humans sent out a subspace transmission, a final cry into the dark. It would have been a pitiful whimper to mark the dying of a race, echoing forever into the universe, but it was noted as different from the previous calls the humans had marked their deaths with. It read Bellum Internesinum Unicorn, Avenge Us. This was followed by some form of encrypted data packet that is yet to be decoded. Now ships have arrived in the Rexath space, appearing with cataclysmic thunderclap of energy. They claim that they are the United Earth Navy, responding to a transmission from a lost colony ship. End of story. I would quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and Patreons. Casper Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Barky, Lord Azrakal, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Dragzoon WRE, Holly's Sister, Arcadian. Thank you very much.